This video is for all the people out there saying that Shawn, otherwise known as VenomFangX, is mentally ill and needs help in psychological counseling and all this nonsense. I do not believe that. I do not believe he is mentally ill. I think it is quite condescending to tell someone they are mentally ill when they are in fact not mentally ill, and this does the person more harm than good. A person who is mentally ill is not capable of causing the havoc Shawn has caused. A person who is mentally ill is not capable of the level of manipulation that Shawn has displayed. So the purpose of this video is to explain why I do not believe he is mentally ill, and to explain why it's important for you to understand that. I do not condone what Shawn did. In fact, I'm very much against it, but I do believe he deserves forgiveness. I would like to make a brief statement regarding DPR Jones. DPR Jones has shown a great amount of compassion towards Shawn, and he even posted a video saying, "Stop persecuting Shawn, stop making disparaging statements about him." Well, if you happen to see this video, DPR Jones, I do not believe the purpose of this video is to harm Shawn or defame him in any way. I actually think it is to help him. It is worse to claim someone is mentally ill than to claim they are just a bad person. Now, I am not a qualified psychologist. Only a qualified psychologist can make an official diagnosis using a formal scoring manual. That's my disclaimer. However, since other people are speculating as to the state of his mental health, this is just me putting in my 2 cents. I believe Shawn is a psychopath, and not mentally ill. Most people don't understand the distinction. Psychopaths are not mentally ill in the traditional sense, nor legally insane. They are logical, rational, perfectly aware of their actions, fully in contact with reality, and function relatively well in everyday life. Because of those traits, they are not mentally ill. I'm a bit of a psychopathy buff. I've read Hare, Checkley, and many other pieces of literature and research papers on psychopaths, so it's a bit of a hobby for me. I'm going to take a list of the key symptoms of psychopathy as outlined in this book. Here it is, Without Conscience by Robert D. Hare, the foremost expert on psychopathy. And I'm going to compare those symptoms to Shawn's behaviors. So let's take a look at what those symptoms are. Okay, glib and superficial, egocentric and grandiose. They lack remorse or guilt, lack of empathy. They're deceitful and manipulative. They have shallow emotions. They're impulsive, have poor behavioral controls, have a need for excitement, and lack of responsibility. Okay, symptom number 1, glib and superficial. This basically means psychopaths are very empty inside, lacking in basic human emotions, and unable to understand things beyond a superficial level. If you watch the video entitled The History of VenomFangX, you'll see proof that Shawn copied many of the statements of Kent Hovind verbatim. Rather than coming up with his own style, rather than coming up with his own ideas, he had to copy the work of someone else. It is clear from watching Shawn's videos that his arguments are very verbally eloquent, but lacking in substance. For example, he claimed that the Big Bang Theory cannot be true because stars spin in opposite directions. So I think what he's saying here is that because stars don't necessarily move in the direction, outward from, a central point, that means the Big Bang didn't happen. Well, I'm not an expert on the Big Bang, but I'm sure that there's an explanation for why stars can move in different directions otherwise than just moving outward from a central point. Um, Anyways, the second symptom of psychopathy is being egocentric and grandiose. Obviously, Shawn was egocentric and grandiose in that he thought he had some great purpose. Perhaps he thought by censoring the views of atheists, using unscrupulous methods, that this was an avenue towards this great purpose. He thought he was beyond the rules that the rest of us have to follow, such as not committing perjury or extorting money from others. A third symptom of psychopathy is lack of remorse or guilt. While Shawn expressed remorse in his apology video, you get the sense he is mechanically reading his lines. Psychopaths are very adept at knowing the right thing to say, eloquent words, without much substance. That brings me to the fourth symptom of psychopathy, lack of empathy. Shawn has no ability to consider the viewpoints of others, and tried to censor atheists any way he could, no matter how unscrupulous the means. He had malicious intent in filing the false Digital Millennium Copyright Act infringement claims, with no concern for the damage he would cause. The fifth symptom is psychopaths are deceitful and manipulative. Filing false DMCA claims, censoring any criticism of his views, attracting a large amount of followers to support him despite his unconscionable actions, and scamming people out of money by claiming to be raising funds for a children's hospital are certainly acts of deceit and manipulation. The sixth symptom is shallow emotions. I often got the impression that Shawn was mechanically reading his lines. He always knew the right thing to say, displayed great verbal eloquence, but showed little emotional reaction. The remaining symptoms are impulsivity, poor behavioral controls, need for excitement, and lack of responsibility. All these symptoms could have contributed to his reckless actions. Impulsivity and poor behavioral controls would have kept him from controlling his antisocial urges like the rest of us do every day. A need for excitement could have led him to take risks despite knowing they may bring negative consequences. And a lack of responsibility would have caused him to have little regard for the consequences of his actions. Let me mention one more time, I am not a qualified psychologist. I cannot make an official diagnosis. Please think about what I've said and form your own opinion. In closing, the purpose of this video was to dispute the consensus that Shawn is mentally ill. Do not be condescending and claim he needs psychological help. Anyone who has a basic understanding of psychopaths knows that there is no therapeutic or pharmacological interventions which can help them. It is currently an incurable disorder. The best way for society to deal with people like this is to limit the amount of damage they cause in the most humane way possible. Psychopaths are people too, and we cannot infringe on their rights. So I do believe Shawn deserves forgiveness. Hopefully he can move on with his life, find happiness, and hopefully he will not cause too much more damage. Goodbye.